about this man here. Look at this picture. His name is Henry Ford. When you look at the picture, you can get some clues about Henry Ford just by looking at the picture. What are some things you can learn about Henry Ford just by looking at this picture? Axel and Brandon, I need your eyes looking at the picture. Do you think he lived now, or do you think he lived back in the olden days?
Back in the olden days.
Yeah.
Definitely back in the olden days.
Yeah, how come what about this picture lets you know that, LeBrandon?
Because look at the color.
Yeah, it's like the black and white, brown and white photo, right? What else tells you it's the olden days? The type of car that he's in. Yeah, our cars don't look like that, right? Look at his hat and his coat. We don't really dress like that nowadays, do we? Henry Ford was a man who lived a long time ago. I'm going to read to you a little bit about what life was like for Henry Ford in the beginning.
Wait, can I read it?
No, Henry Ford. No, you will read in a minute, though. You're going to read a different chapter, okay? Today, we are going to read the chapter called The First Cars. And then later, you guys will get your own book, and you are going to read about this one special car called the Model T. Now, why don't I give you this book so you can follow along with me, or you can look. Why don't you go ahead and get this book right now and open up to page 2. Because that's where the First Cars chapter is. I know, right? I like how they made that book. It's just a soft cover. I'm gonna open up to page 2. Let's see who's ready. You are the first to read this book, so if you have to fold it back a little bit so it stays flat, that's fine. You got it, LeBrandon?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Are you on page 2? Look at your page number. Are you on page 2, LeBrandon?
Wait.
There you go. Sometimes that happens here. All right, let me fold it back. So it'll stay. All right, I'm going to read pages 2 and 3, and we're going to learn a little bit about the very first cars. Follow along in your book or listen. In the early 1900s, there were only a few cars. Most people traveled by horse, train, or boat. The first cars cost a lot of money, and only a few people owned them. I'm going to stop right there, and I'm going to think about what I read about the early 1900s and what cars were like back then. What did we learn about cars back then? Michelle? They did. You can tell by looking at the picture. Actually, is that a car?
No.
No, what is this?
What? No, a carriage.
Oh, a horse and wagon or carriage. And didn't we read that most people traveled by horse, train, or boat? So this is a picture of how most people traveled back then, right? When I read that too, I learned about only a few people had cars. What kind of people, or why did only a few people have cars? Brandon, look at what I read and think about what I read. Why would only a few people have cars, Terry?
Because some people didn't have enough money to buy cars, but the rest did.
Yeah. When I look at this sentence that I read right here, the first cars cost a lot of money and only a few people owned them. That's right. All right, I'm going to read the next page. Get your eyes ready on your page, and we're going to read together. Henry Ford was the person who changed this. He found a way to make cars that didn't cost a lot of money. Soon people were driving cars everywhere. What did Henry Ford do? What did we just read that Henry Ford did? LeBrandon, what did he do?
He built a car so it doesn't cost a little money, that much money, so they don't have to pay that much money. So now they can afford it.
Yeah. Do you think more people were able to buy cars since they didn't cost a lot of money, Axel?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, if the cars are not expensive, more people can afford them, right? All right. This is what you're going to do now. You are going to read the chapter all about the Model T. Now right now just close your book a minute. Close your book all the way. LeBrandon, can you close your book all the way? And look at my eyes. Henry Ford created this car called a Model T. What are some car names that you know?
Van.
A van. The van is a type of car, yeah, because it's got the sliding doors. It's big. What's another car name that you know?
A Dodge.
A Dodge is a brand of car, yes. What's another car you know? A truck is another, yeah. What can you tell me, Axel, about a car? What's the name of a car you know? It could be a brand, like maybe a Dodge, or it could be a van or truck. What's the name of a car you know? Do you know? Who can help him out? What are some other names? What do we got? LeBrandon.
Wait.
What about Miss Hollister has one.
Wait, I got one. I got one. A Lamborghini.
A Lamborghini is a car, yeah. Those cost a lot of money, don't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so have you ever heard of a Lamborghini? They're a fast sports car. Not too many people own those. What about you?
A Chevy.
Chevy. Have you heard of a Chevy? Have you seen commercials on TV with a Chevy? No? Okay. Miss Hollister had one. What was it?
My car is called a Nissan Pathfinder.
Oh, a Nissan Pathfinder. Okay. All right, so those are car names. The car name that Henry Ford developed, his was called the Model T. So that's why I keep saying that word Model T. That's the name of his car. You like that name? Okay. I want you to open to the table of contents in your book. Open to the table of contents. That's in the very front. If you could leave it flat, just that way I can see where you are. LeBrandon, can you lay it flat on the table too, just so I can see where you are? Thank you. Look at your table of contents. We know the names of the chapters and which page they start on. I want you to look at the names of these chapters and tell me what chapter the Model T, or what page the Model T chapter is on. Axel, what page is the Model T chapter on?
14.
It's on page 14. That's exactly right. Turn to page 14. All right. Page 14, it looks like this.
What is that?
Oh, who's on page 14?
Me.
Okay.
The Model T.
The Model T. Look at that picture. LeBrandon, I just heard you ask a question. What was it?
A Model T.
Yeah, but so what was your question? You said, what? Did you say, what is that?
No.
You
I
didn't?
said, what the?
Oh, is it because you were just surprised at that? That's not what our cars look like, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you look at the label next to your picture, point to the label next to your picture. Point to the label next to your picture. This label is pointing to this picture. What is this, LeBrandon? Read that label.
This is the Model T.
A Model T. Read the whole label. What's it say?
A Model T Ford.
A Model T Ford. Because his name was Henry Ford. So he named his car after him. He named it a Model T Ford. And this is the car. Trust me. That is his first car that he made that was cheap so everybody could afford it. So listen, please open your book and keep it still. Thanks, LeBrandon. When you read today, I want you to think about what Henry Ford did when he made the Model T. What did he change about building cars? Okay? That's what we're going to learn about in this chapter. What Henry Ford changed in building cars so that the cars would not be so expensive. You are not going to read this whole book. I'm going to give you paper clips and so you can see what you're going to read. You're going to get your first paper clip and you're going to put it right there. Okay? I apologize this wasn't done for you. I think with all of our room moving, it slipped my mind. So put your first paper clip right there.
Wait, this is not my first paper clip.
No, the first one I gave you. Look, sweet boy, right over here. On this side. Put it right there by that label, Model T. You need help? Here, right here. You need help?
I didn't need help though.
You didn't?
Yeah, I didn't.
You didn't? You got it? Okay. And then we're gonna put the next paper clip on page 17. So turn one page. These are the pages you will be reading today.
I'm gonna have Google.
You have page 17? Nope, leave it. Yeah. Oh, leave that one there. Leave it there. There you go.
Are we gonna read this one?
You all will read from page 14. Look here, Axel. You're gonna start here and read about the Model T. And you're gonna stop on page 17 where your next paper clip is. And what you're reading for is to figure out what he did, what Henry Ford did that made making a Model T something that everybody could afford. Now, if you get to a tricky word, I want you to look for parts that you know and break that word into parts. Can you do that? Okay. Once you break it into parts, you go back and reread and see if your idea made sense. Can you do that? Okay.
I already know how to read very good.
Yeah, so I think you'll do just fine. I want you all to start reading this chapter, the Model T.
Success. Many people wanted the Ford. But they make money and we had to get anybody could run in the past 50 people work together to build a car.
Stop right there. What did you learn in this paragraph that Ford did?
Ford made a bigger factory and we found a way to help the work go faster.
And what was that way called?
It was called an assembly.
An assembly. Read all the way to the next word too. An assembly
line.
Okay. Now, do you know what an assembly line is yet?
Assembly line. I think it's some person needing help.
Maybe. How about this? You read to the next one. And then figure out what that assembly line is.
Okay.
And then I'll come back to check.
Hold
on. If you get done, go back and reread this section one more time because you read real fast, and I think if you reread one more time, you'll make sure you have everything you need to learn.
Assembly line. Work together to build a car.
Hold on, I'm gonna stop you right there. I loved watching you break this word. You broke it into 3 parts. Assembly, and then you put it together. Assembly line. Now, this is gonna be a really important word in what we read. Why do you think an assembly line is so important? What did it help people do? What did it help? How did it help?
Henry found a way to help the work go faster.
What goes faster? Good. Read that top part. What's going to go faster?
As the people work together to build a car.
Read that top part. What goes faster? So what's going to go faster with the assembly line? The work to build the car, right? Okay, look at me. I stopped you. I kind of interrupted you for a second. I love watching the way that you break the words. I want you to finish reading. If you get done reading and I'm still listening to these two, go back and reread it again so you can get all of the information about what an assembly line is, okay? Okay, read it again and make sure you know what an assembly line is.
Wait, excuse me.
Miss Gardens, yeah.
I think I know what this assembly line is.
Okay, so
The assembly line is people that work together to accomplish something.
they do, and I want you to read it again because they have to work together in a special way. I want you to figure out how they work together. Okay?
that anybody could die.
Can I listen to you? Okay, let me hear you.
Many people wanted one. The Ford Model Company was very busy making Model T cars. Soon a company
Oh, I didn't hear you real quick. Soon what?
the company moved to the bigger factory. Henry found a way to help the line go faster. It's what called the assembly line. In the past, a few people were together to build a car.
What is that assembly going to help them do? The assembly line. What's it going to help them do?
I'm gonna help the people to build the car.
And build the car how? It's going to help them go
Faster.
It's going to help them build it faster. And in that introduction I read, remember, it's also going to help them build a car that is cheaper, isn't it? Okay, so really reread this and make sure you can figure out how that assembly line will do that. We're going to talk about it in a second, okay? Sabrina, I need that book to stay flat because it kind of looks like you're just setting up a teepee. So, did you figure out how that assembly line is different than a group working?
Soon the company moved to a bigger factory.
Oh, close. Keep reading it. You're missing
Found
one.
a way to help the work go faster. It was called the assembly line.
I love it. Read this part to me. I want to hear you.
Each person worked on each part of the car. Now the assembly line, each work did just one thing. One person worked on the same part over and over again. It was faster to work this way.
Come on. Read this again. Now, starting now.
Now on the assembly line, each worker did just one thing. One person.
I wanted to stop you there. At first, I thought you said each work did just one thing, but you said worker. I just didn't know that. So why is the assembly line important?
Because if the assembly line didn't work more, then there would be less cars.
Well, yeah, that would happen if it didn't work. So, I think, did everybody finish?
Yes.
Okay, let's just talk about this as a group then. You guys, I asked you each the same question when I was working with you about the assembly line. Let's start off with the first one. What did the assembly line help do?
To go faster.
What's gonna go faster? Help her out.
What?
It's in this paragraph right here. What will it help go faster, LeBrandon?
It would help to make it like one by one until they're done.
So what is getting done faster? Is the car driving faster?
No.
What are they doing faster then on this assembly line, Terry? And working at what? What kind of work is it?
Car work.
What kind of car work is it? Are they fixing broken cars?
No.
What are they doing with these cars? They're not fixing broken cars, but we know they're working on cars. What are they doing in these factories?
They're making new cars.
They're making cars that are better and faster.
They're making cars faster. Next time, let's raise our hand because I was actually talking to Axel and you didn't get a chance to answer, did you? Okay, it's okay. Axel, they just told us, what are they doing faster? What's the assembly line do faster? It helps them. And what kind of work is it? Making new cars faster, that's right. Now, on page 17, we read all about how the assembly line is different from the way they used to make cars. Now let's look at that. Everybody on your own, reread page 17. Start at the word each, and this time you're focusing on why the assembly line is a different way to build cars. LeBrandon, you do it too. Reread page 17.
Each person works on each
Of the car.
Now the assembly line did just one thing.
One person car over and over again. It was faster to work this way.
To do it over and over again, and it works faster this way.
Because how were they building cars before? Read just the very first sentence that starts with each person. Let's everybody read that together. Just the first sentence. Ready, go. Each person worked on each part of the car. What does that mean to you? Each person worked on each part of the car. What does that mean to you, Michelle?
I think when some of them work on a piece and the other one works on a different kind of piece and the other.
You're ahead of me. That's how the assembly line worked. But if it tells us that each person worked on each part of the car, that means every person works on every single part of the car. What does that tell you, Terry?
It tells me that the more parts they build, they can make more of parts to make more of the cars.
Okay, but if each person works on each part, like, this might be something you hadn't thought of before. LeBrandon, try me out, and then maybe I have to give you a little hint. Tell me what you're thinking.
Maybe they work together and like one by one and one by one, so they can accomplish bigger and better things.
Okay, so if we were a group in Henry Ford's factory, please don't do that. If we were a group in Henry Ford's factory and Henry Ford gave us all the pieces to build a car, we would all work together. We would all do step one, which might be like put on the wheels. We would all put on the wheels. And then the step two, Michelle, might be to put on the door. So we would all put on the door. So we're all working together. But then he decided that wasn't working very well. That was taking too long. So he created the assembly line. Now read that next sentence that starts with the word now. Okay, not everybody's ready to read. LeBrandon, read that next sentence that starts with the word now. And we're just gonna read the next sentence. Okay, you ready? We're gonna read it together. Go. Now, on the assembly line, each worker did just one thing. So before, we would all work as a group. We would all do the wheels, we would all do the doors. It was teamwork, teamwork, teamwork. Now he changed teamwork. Now each worker is only doing how many things?
One.
How many things?
One.
One. So that means Axel's job is just going to be one part of making the car. What part do you want? Do you want to put on the wheels? Do you want to put on the doors? What do you want? Axel is only going to put on wheels. That's all he's going to do. What are you going to do, Terry?
I want to put on the doors.
Terry is only going to put on doors. So now Axel will get wheel and wheel and wheel and wheel, and the car is going to go to Terry, and Terry's going to do the doors, and then it's going to go to Michelle. Michelle, what part of the car building are you going to do? The lights? Okay, so Axel's put on the wheels. He sends the car to Terry. Terry is only doing doors. He's getting real fast at doing the doors because he knows how to do doors. He's only got to focus on doors. Then it's going to go to Michelle, and what's she putting on?
Lights.
The lights. And she's going to get real fast at that because if she just puts in lights all day, man, she could practically do it in her sleep, right? And then Michelle, you're going to send the car to LeBrandon. LeBrandon, what are you going to do?
I'm gonna do the roof.
You're going to do the roof and seal up the car, right? So that is the assembly line. Each person has just one job, and you get so good at that one job, you get faster at it. So let's read the very last sentence that starts with the word it. Let's read it together, LeBrandon. Let's read it together. Very last sentence on that page. Ready? Read. It was faster to work this way. It was faster. They could get out more cars. Look at that picture. There are people on the assembly line right there.
Making the wheels.
It does. That was
They're
what it
making the doors. and they're making the windows.
Well, and we can see the wheels in the front there, can't we? Are you okay?
Yeah.
See the wheels? They've got the little screws there, see that? And they're screwing the wheels. That person's whole job is just put the screw in the wheels and send it down to the next person. I'm gonna read this picture label for you. You read with me or follow along if you want. See where the picture label is? Yeah, okay. History was made as the first manufactured part was built on a moving assembly line at Ford Motor Company's Highland Park, Michigan plant in 1913. So we're looking at that plant, the very first, that's the very first wheel that went through it. That is when the assembly line started right there.
You're 25 minutes.
Okay. All right. Now, I want you to all look at page 16 because I left you reading with two jobs. The first job was what was the assembly line, right? What did Henry Ford do to make building a car faster? But I left you with a second job about what to do if you get to a tricky word. What was that job that I left you with if you get to a tricky word? Terry?
Sound it out.
No, I didn't say sound it out. I don't like that phrase, sound it out. I said to do something different. What did I say, LaBrana?
You said to put the word together.
Yeah, well, before you put it together, you had to do what, Michelle?
Break into pieces.
Break it into pieces that you knew and then put it together, right?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah, you had it right. I just helped you put maybe a little bit, make it more clear, okay? I want to talk about Michelle for a minute. This book was fairly easy for all of you to read. I was really proud of Michelle because the first time she saw the word assembly, she broke it into pieces she knew, and I was so proud of her. I saw her say this part, and then I saw her say this part. So we got and then I heard her break it here, blee. And then she went back and she put it together, assembly. Good work. That was perfect. You break your word into parts you know, and then put it together. Remember, we don't say sound it out because you guys are reading much bigger and harder books. And if you sounded this word out, it might sound like this. Is that assembly? No, so we want to start looking for big chunks, okay, Terry? All right. Tomorrow, we're going to read a little bit more about this assembly line. We're going to write about what we've learned about Henry Ford. And I think we might actually do an activity where we time ourselves building something all together as a group, like when they first started, and then we're going to turn ourselves into an assembly line and we're going to see what's quicker. Sound like a plan? Okay. All right. Very good work. I'm really proud of you. We had to change room locations. We had a lot going on. But man, you got it together. I got it together. I really tried hard.